During the film ordained Final Destination, a group of people, this infers students of some sort of culturally subsumed educational institution, embark on an international field trip to France. Upon boarding the aircraft, one of these characters is accosted by two other people who request that they exchange seats. This infers with one of them for the pretext of altering what they prognosticate is distance between them during the trip. Someone else aboard the aircraft a few seats away tacitly expresses vehement objection. Despite this, the character this infers begrudgingly apostatizes the seat, changes seats, and admonishes the character that had tacitly expressed vehement objection to this decision. A nearby hinge-mounted plate or pad pivots by potential energy to a position where this suspects it might obstruct the movements of the nearby passenger. Upon further inspection, or in the process of altering the material of the nearby seat back to confine this plate, discovers that it may remove a small object from what this infers is its housing. This surmises implying that this character extricating it demonstrates that it does not resist the amount of power required to restrain the plate. With a pull of the industrial-sized aircraft-mounted latch handles, the flight commences. The aircraft cabin quakes, seizes, and trembles in ways that are often referred to as being the result of turbulence. Could it be that the cinematography and behavior of characters this infers conveying an implacable and inexplicable sense of impending and inexorable doom be... It abates. With a twisting and cracking and a groaning of steel, the vortex shedding like bollocks continues. The lights flicker and fluctuate dramatically. Chocolate-covered malted milk ball-like comestibles spill to the ground. Panic masks dispense from overhead compartments and then emit incandescent fire and electrical discharge. Reach! You can do it! The malted milk balls attack, throwing a guy across a room. Mid-air pivot flip kick triple axel Betsy flip serial boombox attack! Removing this mask because it isn't effective, some guy gets mulched and then the interior of the plane erupts into flames, reducing at least this on-screen character to a death-derived carbon third-degree burns ephemeral spark of the divine imbibed lurid red car transmission fluid-looking incandescent chronoflade cinder. Incipient to this, the character awakens abruptly. Profuse perspiration accumulated on skin, exaggerated breaths, and expression of panic on face, whilst two nearby characters express a request to exchange seats with this character. Incipient to that, and not long from it, a nearby character aboard the plane tacitly expresses vehement objection, just as they did in the frame of reference not chronologically derived from the destruction of the plane, those on board, or its ascent. A character feverishly and erratically approaches a nearby seat, alarming nearby passengers, surmising in the process of determining if the idiosyncratic condition of one of the seatbacks reoccurs. It does. From this being deduces that that being might then infer some sort of nightmare generator mathematical archetype only calculable by Alan Turing boom enigma code decoding information exhibiting reoccurring nihilo-chronological precedent of progression archetype information. An onboard agent of the aircraft approaches to admonish and to investigate, as do others. The character, whilst stepping upon a chair, over the passenger, upon it, and into the aisle, reports with a sporadic and Stentonian report, declaims that the plane will explode. Some nearby suggest that they believe that this is a joke, which may be the result of a culture that uses the word literally sarcastically. A character insists that this is not a joke. A nearby aircraft agent states that they shall remove this character from the plane. This infers if the erratic behavior continues. The character states that it would remove itself from the plane in a brusque fashion, then swiftly moves for the exit, obstructed by some in its path. Of course not without the get your flesh chip breaketh off from subcutaneous dermis binary salt compound sweat oil and other filth matted frog skin toad olive golden wheat dirty blonde incontinential buttocks back in your suit police to step in and punch you in your chest. They are both grappled and ambulated away from the interior of the aircraft. Whilst seated in the airport lounge, A character regales those around them with its account of the harrowing nightmare generator mathematical archetype only calculable by Allen Turing Boom Enigma code decoding reoccurring nihilo-chronological precedent of progression archetype information, from which this character reports that the plane would explode. Not long and incipient to the plane's departure, it does explode, to the shock and awe of those who bear witness to it. From which this being arrives at a query, the answer to which it seems is not bequeathed upon this being from information derived of and throughout the series of Final Destination films. Why is it that some humans receive information constituting some sort of arcane clairvoyance into the spirit world, or the fundamental order of the natural world, yielding to them the ability to avert death, however tenuously and temporarily, only for those who survive as a result to fall by some stereotypically ludicrous Byzantine Goldberg variety causality like death traps? In the pursuit of an answer, whilst traveling with the only god this suspects it might elicit a response from that it does not have some strange proclivity to ignore, this made the query to Cheeseus, and this was his response.
Really? That's your question? I'm just saying, you're here on a train with an omnipotent God. I've got unlimited power and invincible, inevitable, and inexorable, inexplicable, and inalienable, and inimitable divine skills. And your question is about...
Does this question bother you?
No, I'm just disappointed in you. I'm joking. Yeah, Final Destination just is a retelling of the ancient story of Sisyphus. So let's just say for us a point of argument that all this bullshit just starts in ancient Greece with a guy named Cheeseus.
How does
that... he and Daedalus built this thing called the causality engine.
Explain Daedalus.
He's like one of the best builders. He's like Zeus's Hans Beckhoff, except he's an ancient Greek workaholic architect and not a psychotic Nazi crack cocaine addicted Germanian vigilante barbarian scientist.
And of the causality engine?
So he was like the first one to figure out that death had a design, and he built the causality engine to change the macro-quantum chaos scheme of his environment. By doing so, he could live forever. Thanatos was like, it doesn't really matter, because I could just come back and kill that bitch anyway. And eventually, he just showed up to the chaos engine. He was like, all right, it's time to go. And Sisyphus said, like, oh, I noticed those changing out there. Oh, yeah, they're so delicious. Can I hold them? Thanatos was like, oh, well, you built all this. I guess I feel like I owe it to you. And so he's like, yeah, okay, hold him. And so he's like squishing him and licking him and groping him and doing all that stuff that mortals love to do. And then Thanatos is like, you done? And so was like, yeah. So he just gives him back. And right as Thanatos is reaching for him, he's like, gotcha, bitch. Yeah. And Thanatos was stuck. He got stuck, and I can't believe he fell for that shit. But I was busy studying for my Sophia entrance exams, so I didn't really know or care. But Ares was like, oh, hell no. It's like, you know what, why does nobody die? It's kind of bull. It's like, oh, bullocks. It was Sisyphus. He found out Sisyphus was involved. He marched over to Sisyphus's castle, just went straight into his basement, and like cut Thanatos' chains. It's like, yeah, that's enough of that bullshit. It just took Sisyphus straight to the underworld, and that's what happened. That's the whole story.
Is that to imply that if Thanatos is restrained, then that creates the rift in death's design?
Yes, that's why all this time, that's what I've been trying to tell people, and their flangy coly buttocks. Come on, buns, get those juggernauts in the air. Oh, hula.
Why premonitions as opposed to being able to walk around regardless of mutilation and such?
So the problem here is you're thinking like a mortal. You're thinking like the flesh is somehow fundamentally different from a premonition. Whether you're walking around with an axe in your back or you're walking around with premonitions and all kinds of, crazy hooflop, it's all the same fundamental, hobnobbery and stuff with the gods. You gotta know what it's like. That's all. You tell me, you know what it's like, right? You believe in Jesus. You gotta tell me, please tell me you know what I'm talking about.
There is a character throughout the series, a mortician.
Yeah, I already know what you're gonna say. You want to know about Bloodworth, if he's supernatural.
Bloodworth?
Yeah, well, that's his name. If you look right by directed by Cheeseus Industries, you're gonna see Bloodworth in the credits. You can't miss it. It's really good font.
Is that character a
Bloodworth
demon?
He's not a demon. He's just a really venerable. He's a venerable mortician who pays attention. That's what he is. If you live in a world with these rifts, and you're going to notice in the news of people talking about a series of catastrophic incidents, then there's always some group of people who survive because somebody claims to have because somebody's freaking out from some visceral prescient knowledge, and then all the survivors end up dying in either like some weird accidents, and then the bodies come to you. That's going to hit you. You're going to notice some stuff. It's going to become a part of your life. That's who Bloodworth is. I think you should be aware.